Waking Dream, a Datura trip report by the Smoky Tiger, uploaded to earwid.org September 12, 2007. This happened to me when I was 22 years old, and I'd say that it was the most intense mind-expanding experience of my life. My buddies and I lived together in a house, and every weekend we'd have big parties. I had read and been deeply influenced by the shamanistic description of the world described by Carlos Castaneda. I was already experienced with mushrooms, acid, weed and drunkenness, and was eager to try more. One day, one of my buddies told me that some young drug dealer he knew had peyote buttons for sale, so he bought 3 of them. I didn't find out until recently that what we took was not peyote, but actually Datura. The party had started and I was relatively drunk. My buddy showed up with these 3 little green vegetable things, definitely the large buds of a flower with little bumps in them that used to be spines. 3 of us popped them into our mouths and they taste really bitter, but juicy, like a rotten green pepper or something. Very quickly, around 45 minutes later or so, I was experiencing strong visual distortions that were similar to mushrooms or acid. Melting walls, intense colours, patterns, and I thought, wow, this is going to be cool. But then, I was downstairs and there were bottles all around and everyone was gone. I asked my buddy where is everyone, and then he told me that the party was over and it was the next day. My memory was extremely messed up. Over the next little while, I pieced together what had happened from my own mind and the viewpoint of witnesses. Here goes. After everything started melting like a strong acid trip, me and my 2 friends passed out for about half an hour. When we woke up, we were sleepwalking. Half in the reality of the party, half in an illusionary reality. It was impossible to differentiate between the two. When we spoke, it would come out as complete gibberish, but to us, we were speaking very clearly. We were all very happy throughout the whole trip. At one point I was talking utter gibberish to some people at the top of a staircase when I decided to just fall over. Witnesses said it seemed like I did it purposefully. I just leaned over and fell all the way down to the bottom of the staircase and got up without injury, and just continued wandering around. It really seemed to witnesses as if I were retarded in some sense, speaking and looking just like a mentally handicapped person would do. We really were in a dream. I kept telling everyone about this huge tower that was 1,000 feet high and 1,000 years old, and I was pointing to it. Also, I talked about a tropical beach and a harbour. There was a moment during my trip where I had a long discussion with a girl about special ways to hold your hands to prevent yourself from being harmed from psychic attacks. These details I then gathered from witnesses. The interesting thing about our hallucinations is that sometimes it seemed like the 3 of us could hallucinate the same thing. One time I had this sort of puking fit and coughed and then puked all over the floor. My tripping buddies came over and we looked at the puke, but I actually didn't puke, we were hallucinating it together. For a period of time, my buddies thought they were at work and we were working together in the kitchen, thinking it was the kitchen of their actual job. They seemed to have a great time as they cooked up invisible meals and washed invisible dishes. All of us really wanted to climb, and we were climbing the staircase and bookshelves, etc. All of this I have no memory of though. My memory came back towards the end of the trip. At this point I would be partly dreaming and then be shifting between the 2 realities. So I'd be talking to a person, and I'd go to light my cigarette, and I'd be smoking, really enjoying watching the smoke and talking, and then bang, I'd suddenly realised that I was talking to the wall, and I was just waving my fingers around thinking I was smoking. This weird effect lasted for a long time, but I was entertained by it rather than frightened. I'd think someone was there and start talking to them, and then they'd just disappear. The crazy thing is that at this point I got in my car and drove to another house and was alone there talking to invisible people for some period of time before returning to the party. Or maybe that was a total hallucination. Although it seems like it would be disturbing, for some reason I was always happy and it seemed like I was in control. I really can't emphasise more that it was a dreaming-like experience, and I had a good time because I usually have good dreams. I reckon if I was stressed and had nightmares occasionally, it could have been disastrous. My confidence might have been a result of the alcohol, so it might have been the forgetfulness as well. Our pupils stayed dilated for a few days afterwards and my vision was distorted. Also, I had severe cottonmouth throughout. We kept drinking cup after cup of water, but our thirst could not be satisfied. This event was a turning point in my life. I'd been shown how reality is all relative. everybody's minds can generate realities that are perfectly real. So you realise that nothing is truly real at all. Everything is relative. The Buddhist concept of Maya is illustrated here. It's not just a metaphor anymore. The occult implications of this are profound. There really is no way of knowing whether the entities and realities I experienced were actual living things and places, or simply figments of my imagination, but it made me question the reality of everything around me. All in all, I would definitely experiment with Datura again if I could find it. What was especially exciting was the fact that many of us could experience the same dream together. With practice, I feel this plant could really teach you a lot, but it's hardcore. Definitely not for those prone to bad trips. Extensive experience with other hallucinogens like acid or mushrooms are recommended. And also, the party scene was not really the best I feel. This plant needs to be respected.